What is the first thought that enters your mind when you wake up? Is it anxiety about the day ahead, resentment toward yesterday's failures, or perhaps a quiet dread that whispers you're not enough? Most men stumble through their mornings governed by reactions, not reflections. They open their eyes and immediately surrender control to notifications, demands, obligations, and the chaos of a world that never stops shouting. But here's what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. The extraordinary man knows that his mind is sacred ground. Before the world gets its hands on him, he speaks to himself with intention. He doesn't wait for motivation to find him. He builds it from within through deliberate inner dialogue. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that the quality of your day is determined not by what happens to you, but by what you tell yourself when you're alone with your thoughts. Your mind is the only territory you truly govern. And every morning, you get to choose whether you rule it with wisdom or let it rule you with fear. Stoicism is not a philosophy of suppression or coldness. It is a philosophy of clarity, strength, and profound inner freedom. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, began each day by reminding himself of fundamental truths that anchored his soul amid the pressures of empire. Epictetus, once a slave, taught that no chain could bind a man whose mind was free. Seneca, advisor to emperors, wrote extensively on the power of the self-directed mind. These men understood something most people never grasp. True wealth is not found in possessions, status, or validation from others. True wealth is clarity of mind, sovereignty over your inner world, and the ability to meet life's storms with unshakable calm. The Stoics practiced what they called the morning meditation, a conversation with the soul before the world could distort it. They knew that the mind, left unguarded, becomes a battlefield of doubt, fear, and external influence. But the disciplined mind, the one that engages in daily philosophical reminders, becomes a fortress. It becomes the source of courage, resilience, and quiet confidence. Today, you will learn to build that fortress. You will learn the 5 affirmations that the Stoics carried into every dawn, shaping not just their days, but their destinies. In this video, you will receive 5 Stoic reminders, 5 truths to tell yourself every single morning. These are not motivational tricks or temporary boosts. They are philosophical anchors designed to recalibrate your mind, strengthen your discipline, and restore your sense of control. When practiced daily, these affirmations will bring you calm in chaos, confidence in uncertainty, and mastery over yourself. Each one is rooted in ancient Stoic wisdom, tested across centuries, and proven to transform the inner life of any man willing to apply them. Let's begin. Point 1. I control only my mind and my actions. The first affirmation is this: I control only my mind and my actions. Nothing more, nothing less. Most suffering comes from trying to control what cannot be controlled. You cannot control other people's opinions, the economy, the weather, traffic, betrayal, or loss. You cannot control whether opportunities come or doors close. But you can control your response. You can control your interpretation. You can control your effort, your integrity, and your composure. Epictetus taught that freedom begins the moment you stop trying to control the uncontrollable. He said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." When you wake up and remind yourself of this truth, you stop being the victim. You stop waiting for the world to cooperate. You stop blaming circumstances. Instead, you become the architect of your inner state. You accept reality without bitterness and move forward with intention. This affirmation is not resignation. It is liberation. It frees you from the exhausting game of trying to manage everything outside yourself. It redirects all your energy toward the one thing you can truly master, yourself. Say it every morning. I control only my mind and my actions. Everything else is beyond me, and that is perfectly fine. Point 2. Today I will focus on what I can give, not what I can get. The second affirmation is, today I will focus on what I can give, not what I can get. Modern life trains you to be a consumer, a taker, someone constantly asking, what's in it for me? But the Stoic lives differently. He knows that fulfillment comes not from accumulation, but from contribution. Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Goodness is expressed through action, through service, through showing up with value rather than demanding it. When you shift your focus from getting to giving, you reclaim your power. You stop being dependent on external validation, approval, or rewards. You stop feeling entitled. You stop keeping score. Instead, you become a source. You bring energy, discipline, kindness, and effort into every room you enter. You ask, how can I be useful here? What can I contribute? This mindset transforms relationships, careers, and self-respect. People are drawn to those who give freely, not those who take desperately. And more importantly, you become someone you respect. You align with virtue, with purpose, with something greater than yourself. Every morning, remind yourself, I am here to give, to serve, to add value. My worth is not determined by what I receive, but by what I offer. Point 3. My perception creates my reality. The third affirmation is, my perception creates my reality. Nothing is inherently good or bad. It is your interpretation that makes it so. Stoicism teaches that events themselves are neutral. What gives them meaning is the story you tell yourself about them. Failure can be seen as humiliation or as education. Rejection can be seen as defeat or as redirection. Hardship can be seen as punishment or as preparation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. When you wake up and remind yourself that your perception shapes your reality, you take back the power to define your experience. You stop being a passive victim of circumstances. You stop letting external events dictate your internal state. Instead, you become the interpreter, the narrator, the one who decides what things mean. This is not delusion or toxic positivity. It is philosophical realism. It is the recognition that suffering is often not caused by the event itself, but by your judgment of it. Train your mind to see obstacles as opportunities, delays as lessons, and discomfort as growth. When you master perception, you master life. Say it every morning. My perception creates my reality. I choose to see clearly, to interpret wisely, and to respond with strength. Point 4. I am responsible for my life. No one else. The fourth affirmation is, I am responsible for my life, no one else. This is the hardest truth to accept and the most liberating one to embrace. You are not a victim of your past, your circumstances, your upbringing, or your setbacks. You are the product of your daily choices. Epictetus, who was born into slavery, understood this better than anyone. He said, no man is free who is not master of himself. Freedom comes from ownership, from the refusal to blame, to make excuses, or to wait for rescue. When you tell yourself every morning that you are responsible, you eliminate the comfort of victimhood. You stop pointing fingers. You stop waiting for someone else to fix your life, to give you permission, or to hand you confidence. You accept that your health, your habits, your mindset, your relationships, and your results are all reflections of your decisions. This is not a burden. It is power. Because if you are responsible, then you are also capable. You have the authority to change, to improve, to rebuild. Blame keeps you stuck. Responsibility sets you free. Every morning, look yourself in the mirror and say, I am responsible for my life. No one is coming to save me, and I don't need saving. I am the solution. Point 5. I will be present and kind to myself and others. The fifth affirmation is, I will be present and kind to myself and others. Stoicism is often misunderstood as cold or detached, But the truth is the opposite. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about kindness, empathy, and our duty to one another. He said, "Kindness is invincible. True strength is not found in harshness or aggression, but in the quiet discipline of treating yourself and others with respect. Presence is the foundation of this kindness. You cannot be kind if you are distracted, reactive, or lost in your own head. When you are present, you listen deeply. You respond thoughtfully. You notice the humanity in others. And you also notice your own needs, your own limits, your own worth. Many men are harder on themselves than anyone else ever could be. They criticize, punish, and exhaust themselves in the name of discipline. But self-mastery is not self-destruction. The Stoic is firm but fair with himself. He corrects without cruelty. He pushes without breaking. Every morning, commit to this balance. I will be present in every moment. I will be kind to myself without being soft. I will be kind to others without losing myself. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. This is the mark of a man who has mastered both strength and grace. These 5 affirmations are not separate ideas. They are threads of a single philosophy, a single identity. When you tell yourself that you control only your mind and actions, that you focus on giving, that your perception shapes reality, that you are responsible, and that you will be present and kind, you become something different. You become a Stoic in the truest sense. Not someone who avoids emotion, but someone who governs it. Not someone who hides from hardship, but someone who transforms it. This is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice, a morning ritual, a conversation with your soul before the world gets loud. Over time, these words become beliefs. Beliefs become actions. Actions become character. And character becomes destiny. You are not building a better day. You are building a better man. Which of these 5 truths resonates most with you? Let me know in the comments. If this brought you clarity, subscribe to Anonymous Achiever for more Stoic wisdom. Remember, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thoughts. Choose them wisely. Stay disciplined. Stay free.